Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. We are having a little bit of technical difficulties. If you just give us a couple of minutes, we'll be right with you.
There we go. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yay. Awesome. Hello. How are we doing? Let me go ahead and get I'm supposed to be sharing this. All right. I believe we do have. Give it just thanks everybody for your patience while we got through that. I know it's been just a few minutes here, so we can go ahead and get started. My name is Kyle. This is actually my first time hosting a lunch and learn here, so I'm excited to be hanging out with everybody. Go ahead and start with, looks like we do have a question that had been asked, like a pre-question that was asked. Looks like this is from Joki. Did I pronounce that name right? All right. The question here is, I've noticed that if I put an object into cache and later retrieve that object to make changes on it, every change made is automatically written into the cache. Is there a way for me to retrieve a copy of an object from cache that is independent from the cache and doesn't write back to the cache? Okay, so let's, we're gonna go ahead and rock through this one. We're gonna talk about kind of the whys behind why we're seeing that behavior. And then we'll talk about how to get through that. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to my decisions environment real quick. Give me just a second. All righty. So why we're seeing that is, so cache and objects in general and decisions, if you're pulling it, whether you're pulling it from the input, from cache, what you're seeing is that that is the current object in memory. So any kind of action that you take on that thing is going to affect that thing, and whether that lives in the in currently memory within the flow or in cache. So there's a couple ways that we can mitigate that. And really so let's first start with, if I just simply drag out like a create data step, and let's say I have a, let's say if I have like an account object here. Now, if I want to make changes to this account that I'm passing into this flow, but I want to leave what's being passed in intact, what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to essentially make a clone of it, like a copied instance. So if I come here and I say copy of account, I can spell. All right, now your first instinct is probably to, well, I'm just going to take this, just pass in the account that's passed in from the input, right? So this is what we defined at the input. And then I should be good to go. I can make changes on this safely. But because of how we reference objects and decisions, this just strictly passing this directly into here is not going to break that link technically. What we're going to have to do in order to make a clean clone to where this is safe to now to alter and mess with, is we're actually going to have to do build data. And we're going to see we have a lot of properties that we can select. So for instance, I'm just going to select all of them. And then you're actually going to have to come in here and physically map in all of those objects, all of these fields, which can be pretty tedious. But especially if you have objects that have a lot of properties. But this is going to be the safest way to get you a clean, kind of copied clone version of that item, of that thing, where you can make those adjustments. Does that help? I've tried build data and it doesn't work for caching. So have you mapped the individual rows out? That's interesting. Do you know what version you're on currently? Version 6. Okay. Let me look into this a little bit more and do some, on my local here, what I can test with is on 7. Let me validate. The only thing that worked was creating 2 objects with exactly the same field. Got it. Yeah. So you made essentially 2 identical data structures, just different namespaces. So different tables, but the same properties. And then you were able to map it in that way. What kind, so when the object that you're caching, what is it? Is it like a simple database structure, or is it, what kind of data type is it? The flow structure. So we're caching a flow structure, and then we are getting it, and then, yeah, let me, Joki, if you don't mind, I'm going to do a little bit of kind of research on this as well and see. I'm going to be able to pick an object from the cache, make a comparison. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely understand the use case for sure. That behavior where we're mapping in, that should be enough to get you that copy. But there could be a little bit of play there, and maybe we can go ahead and try and maybe make that and see. Let me check to see if there's any. I believe that was our only question here. I know we have a couple others on the call. Were there any other questions? Oh, Jokey, you had another issue? Let's check it out. Okay. So another issue was that the method of getting and putting into the cache, I had to use add to list and get from list. Okay. All right. So from here, the get from cache and put into cache. So let's see here. All right, so instead of get from cache and put to cache, so whenever I use the get from cache and put to cache, the link still existed, even with two different data structures. Got it. Do you have an example or even an export that you could send me? I've used cache and these steps before. I'm not sure. I see that Maurice is on the call. Sabrina also. I don't know if you all have had any experience with these directly, but I would want to kind of dig into this a little bit. Yeah, if you don't mind sending me that, and then we can reach back out and maybe determine some better solutions there. Awesome. All right. What else we got? Jeremy McNeil, how you doing? Govin, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Hello. I'm unable to hear you currently. You're working on a workflow and stuck. Can you help me out to solve the issue? Give me just 1 second. Govin, what specific issues are you seeing? I'm not sure if you're going to be able to share screen on here. If you could walk me through maybe what kind of issues that you're seeing. While we're waiting for that, Jokey, for if you like developing like C# methods, I would look into, there isn't necessarily a way where you can like inside of like a flow designer, write out, a method or a class per se and use it, just like a raw code inside of the flow designer per se. But if you are interested in maybe doing custom work within decisions, I would definitely consider looking into into the SDK, which you can find information about our SDK on our documentation website. If you don't have access to that, I can go and get that for you guys right here. And also, are you all able to unmute yourselves? Okay, looks like attendees are unable to unmute themselves. Apologize for that. I know, I'm sure it'd be a lot easier to explain without having to go through chat. While we're looking through that, give me one moment.
Hello,
Hello,
can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay.
Hello, you had mentioned that you were working through
Yeah,
some
so what I'm doing is I have an object which has around 10 fields, and there are values as well.
Okay.
And what I'm doing is I'm looping through and finding specific properties and storing into a list.
Okay.
And based on there are 4 properties which I'm trying to pull the value out of and store into a list, and then I need to do a sum of those value. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Oh, okay. Got it. So yeah, absolutely. So let's, if you'd like, what we can do is let's go ahead and create a, let's go and just create a basic flow structure here. And what you said that there's four properties on this?
Yeah, say you can just name it anything. Those are
Okay.
the integer value. Those are integer values.
Okay.
Yeah, you can make it 3 is good enough. Yeah.
Yep.
And you can put the values as well, maybe 10, 20, 30.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. So let's get this together. We're going to call this the test input, which is going to be that list of that type that we just made. Right. We're going to go ahead and build the array. So we're going to have a few items in here. This will be like 10, 20, and 30.
Yeah.
All right. And let's get something else in here.
Can I add one more question to this?
Yes, of course.
So I have 2 objects, actually. It's not one object. One has, say, suppose A, B, C, D, E, and one has A, B, C.
Okay. So you have 2. So it's not necessarily a list of objects or a list of item, like a list of a specific object. These are multiple types of objects that you're working with.
Correct.
Okay. And how are they coming in currently? Are they coming in as objects? Or are they coming in as like a JSON structure?
No, in this object like that. Yeah.
Okay.
List of object is coming in.
Okay. So are you saying that like all of them have A, B, C, D, E, but not all of them are populated? Not all the fields are populated in some?
Correct.
Okay. So 30, 60, and for this example, we'll leave C blank. All right. And you're looping through each one?
Yeah, I'm taking, say, suppose you have first object and second object.
Okay.
I'm looping through the second object.
Okay.
Comparing the property. If the property match, then I'm getting the value out of that property and storing into another, I have a add item to list where I'm storing those
Okay.
value.
Got it. So you're doing some kind of an evaluation. So like, let's just say, just so we can get
Correct. I have.
or like in this case, we have numbers.
So how to match the property to property?
How to match? So what are you trying to see if what matches?
Can you go to the start?
Of course.
And yeah, so you have the test input, right?
Yep.
Can you make another second
Yep.
test input or something like that?
And is this going to be of test structure?
Yes, it's a list actually. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So does this look right?
That's good enough. Yeah.
Okay.
And then that's another one also a list.
And this is a list. Got it?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And that has a property of say B and C.
And this has a property, so has a list of B and a list of C?
Correct.
Got it. So this is going to be actually a string value.
Yeah.
All right.
And then I loop through the B and C and find out the first object which you create. If it match the B and C, so you enter some value on B and C, right?
Yep.
I need to store those value in a list, a separate add item to list.
Got
Is
it.
that the correct tools to add the value?
Yeah. So you're looping through the actual test values here. This is what you're looping through. Which is the B and C. And then you're saying, does in this test structure here, right? We have three properties of A, B, and C.
Correct.
You need to first find, so if we loop through, and so the first iteration of this loop, we're going to be looped, the item that we're going to loop through is going to be B. And then, so we need to find in this list here, I need to get all values of B.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
The matching property of those value. Yeah.
Got it. So then the best thing, and this is currently how your structure is set up. So I believe there should be a name on object. And we should be able to, so we loop through, let me think about this. And then we have, we're going to want to loop through, there's probably a more elegant way, but so this is probably kind of crude, but we could then loop through and determine, okay, this is going to be our value from each one of these. And then from there, we can say, get property names on object. And now this is if this in this current state, right? Probably the more elegant solution would be to create a list of items where they had it, it was separate of like a your name and then a value, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that way you could find where so it would be more like let me see here. Let's make a new one of these. Test. Structure 2, right? Then you have like a name and then a value. I don't know if this more closely matches what you're looking at, or maybe what you have. But this way, in this flow, right, you could, and let's just say test input 2. There you go. That is a list of values. So you could have several A's, right? And this, you can have an A with a 6, A's with 4. Let's go ahead and keep this consistent. Let's also do a, so you have a B, right? B, and this is 7. All right, so we got some values in there. And so now we can say, you can loop through, and then instead of using this guy, you can actually loop through the test input 2. Object to check, right? So we have our letter, right? So this is looping through B and C, right? So we set this up as a list of B and C, and then we want to check. And so you can go to equals. This is going to be your letter and object to check, name. So we're only looking for the things that equal this current letter. If it doesn't equal that, we move on. And if it does, as you said, we can add it to the list. And then you're wanting to get, now are you wanting to have, if you have 2 letters, are you wanting to have 2 separate lists?
No, in one list. Can I add?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you just want those values, correct?
Correct.
All right. And so for here, we'll say list of values. And the new item is going to be this object to check, right, that we made, the value. The original list, we just say list of values. All right, so what's going to happen is, once this is done, we are going to iterate to the next, and then we're going to complete. So let's relabel these just so that this is a little bit clearer. So loop through letters, loop through object, as object letter or name equal letter. If so, we add it to the list.
Okay.
Is that pretty clear there?
Uh-huh.
Now, once that's done, so we can go ahead and run this. And they should be defined already right at the beginning. There you go. So get to the end. We should have 7 and 15 because remember we only had B and we had B and C that got passed into here.
B and C, correct?
And we didn't initialize anything for C, I believe. Yeah. So it was just going to be the what was on B that got added to the list. Now you wanted to sum that list, correct?
Yes.
Yep. And so we can get a sum step here. So once we've created that, we've populated, we've looped through, we've determined exactly what we need. Pass in that list of values. If we run this again. And there's our result.
Oh, okay. I was missing. Yeah. So why 2 for loop?
So you have your, again, there's probably we have 2 lists that we're evaluating, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have our first list here. And again, this is like using flow structures. There's probably queries that we could use if these live in the database instead, in order to avoid, because that's what I was saying, there's probably a more graceful way to do this. We would probably try to look a little bit deeper into C and exactly look at your use case and see the best possible way to avoid doing these 2 loops. But we have we have a list of values and we need to check a list of objects against those values to see, hey, what, do you exist in this list? Now, there's a couple ways you could use some filtering, but again, those are iterative processes in themselves. So depending on, again, your use case, if these are items that say live in the database, you could say, hey, get me, instead, you could say, get me those items where B equals where, because you could say where test, oops. Oh, because these are flow structures, so I can't fetch those. So it would be something along the lines of where you could loop through these, right? And if these are things that lived in your database, instead of having to loop through and then find the thing and then add it, you could simply fetch those items. You could say, fetch me my type where name equals B. And then right out of the gate, you have your values. And then you just have to add those to the list and then you're done.
Okay. So rather than fetch entities through data structure, can I do the same or no?
And so, I'm sorry, what was the question?
Like you added the fetch entities, right? Which is like pulling from the database.
Correct.
If I create an entity, can I do like the way you create the entities? Can I do through that or no?
Yeah. So you're saying if I were to create a table on the database, can I do this behavior here? Or are you saying if you create a table on the database, could you do this behavior?
I mean, you just added that fetch entities, right? Which is connect through the database, right?
Correct.
And then I'm gonna say that that the type name where I'm gonna pass the property name, right? The field name, and say if it is B, give me the value of B.
Absolutely. And we can, and I can actually show you, we can just for as an example. So I'm going to use, in this case, just a regular database structure, right? And this is going to be, let's call these playing card. This is going to be name, the value of that card. All right.
Mhm.
So now I have that data structure that I can fetch. Right. So I would say, oh, come on. I think I have to, because I just added it, just compile. Give me 1 second. Try this out. Let's save and come back. Hmm. Is that compiled? Yep. Oh, may have accidentally. Oh, that's my fault. I created as a defined data structure. I apologize. Yep. So coming down here, that was a bit of a fat thumb there. We're actually going to, let's try this. Playing card, actual name, value. This is what we were looking for.
Okay.
All right. Now heading back, we should be able to use this step. There we go. Okay. And then we're going to add our fetch criteria. So we've selected by type. We're going to add our fetch criteria, name equals. And again, we're looping through each one of those letters, right?
Mhm.
Where the letter, where the name equals that letter that we're passing in.
Okay.
So if we don't receive any results, then we don't have, there's nothing inside of our database that equals that. So we can safely move on to the next.
Oh, okay. Correct.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Makes
but
sense.
if there are, right, then we can come over here. And then here, this is going to be our, and this is actually a little bit different. So this is add items to list. Here, or this is an add item, this is a single. So this could return multiple, right? So instead of returning several, like we were doing in that loop, this could return multiple results. So we're going to actually do add items, the list step.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And we're going to use the same name here. And you can see all value. So we mapped out, so we took the value out of this fetch entities. So we wanted to loop through the letters, fetch our playing cards where the letter matched the name. And then I wanted to get the value off of that. So there are two different steps here, right? This method where we are looping through letters and looping through the objects, right? and then we have to add them one at a time. And here, we actually loop through the letters, but then fetch all of them. So unlike this, where we have to loop through, if they're part of the database, we're simply fetching all of them that meet the criteria of B or C. And then we add those values, all of them at one time.
Okay. The first scenarios, I have one more questions.
Sure.
So the second loop, says I have I do not have the list of item. I have just a single object.
Mhm.
I can still loop through, right? Even though it's not a list of items.
Here?
Yeah.
The input of a for each step is going to any of our loop steps, or our for loop or for each loop steps are going to, they're going to be expecting a list, some kind of a collection.
Correct.
So if you only have a single item, you would have to
might have that list might have a single item, right?
Yeah. So, oh yeah, as long as what you're passing into it is a collection, it could have nothing in it. It could be nothing. It could have 1,000 items in it. It could have one item in it. But as long as it is an array of things, then yes, you can pass it in.
If there are three item in that list, and I just loop through the first item, how can I do that? The first.
If you just want to see the first item, if you actually go to the loop step here, you can come down here to outcomes, and you can actually, so by default, you're going to see the next and done path. So if I drag out a, let's kind of scoot over here a little bit, get a nice little fresh clean area. So if I drag out a for each step, by default, it's going to give me a next and a done.
Correct.
But if you want to know the first item or the last even, you can actually add those as items to loop through. And it's going to give you your own path. So if I come over here and this here,
Like
and I may have to.
In C# we have first or default when we do the link query, right? So is it similar to that?
I'm sorry, I was getting this set up. What was that? In C#, you have what?
In C# we have a link query where we can pull the first item first and the default item, right? So is it similar to that?
Yes. Now, if your intent, so if your intention is to only use the first item, like I really don't care what else, like I don't need to loop through. I just need to know what's the first item. When mapping, right? So if I were to say, so if I'm passing in a list here, so again, let's kind of clear this stuff out of the way. So before I move on from that, here you go. This is where you can see where if you still plan on iterating through a list, but you do want to have separate behaviors for, like, say, the first or the last item in the array, you do have these options. But if you are saying, hey, I just want the value of the first item in a list. So in this case, here, you can actually go into where your inputs are, and it's actually part of the mapping. So we can see that this is an array. We can actually go to first or last.
Oh, okay.
And then have that value there. So if you know that, like, if you have, say, part of your configuration or payload, you know that the very last thing in the list is what you care about. And that is a safe assumption. That is what you're going to use. You can come to the list itself and you can say last and then get whichever value, or the whole, if you want.
Yeah. Okay. that makes sense.
Now, did that help answer your question? I know we went through a couple different scenarios here.
Yeah, no, the first one which I'm looking right now. So I didn't try the 2 for loop. So that's maybe and then the sum one which you did, that actually I'm looking for. So okay.
Yep. Absolutely. Glad I could help.
Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah, sure thing. Quick step back, Joki, I saw the reason for this question regarding going back to the C# methods. The reason for this question is that it cannot find math functions such as sine and cosine steps. I also don't think that we have anything like sine and cosine, but I do know that we have expression. You can do evaluate like dynamic expression steps where you can.
How can I get this this recorded video?
I believe that these are posted on YouTube once they are once they're rendered.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, decisions team. This is the first time I've done this, so I'm actually not sure where they are posted, but I do believe that they are publicly available. Forgive me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty certain they are.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're correct. They are posted on the YouTube channel.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. All right, and Joki, yeah. So we do have these expression steps that may solve what you're trying to accomplish. You can actually come in here and define really any kind of an expression. So you can come in here and say, if we wanted to say test, because these I believe have some integers in them. Yeah, here you go. So you can say like this plus last, and then that'll give you your output there. I believe that it is fixed as a decimal though, potentially. Yes, both of these are fixed, but that may be an option for you. Thank you so much, Sabrina. If you guys want to, Sabrina dropped the link to our YouTube channel in the chat. All right, I know we're coming up close to that 1 hour mark. We have about 10 minutes left, but are there any other questions? Anything else anyone wants to see, call out, take a look at? All right. Joki, Govind, thank you all so much for your questions. Maru, I'm not sure if we want to go ahead and wrap or if there's anything else we would like to review.
No, if nobody else has any more questions, then we thank you for your participation and look forward to seeing you again on the next Lunch and Learn webinar. Have a great day.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Have a
Kyle.
wonderful day. Thank you so much.